It's Basketball 30.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new series here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. It's called Basketball 30, and we hope you've enjoyed our previous versions. Well, today we have a very special broadcast version of Basketball 30, and we're going to talk to what we call the leadership of Southern Ohio basketball and some of their representatives. We're going to talk to a board member from the Southeast District, a board member from the Southwest District, and the commissioner for the Southern Hills Athletic Conference. We're going to talk about many different issues affecting basketball in Southern Ohio as well as throughout the state of Ohio. But first this, here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103.
Do you have a property that is more trick than treats? That old spooky building that needs to come down? The mysterious water leak that destroys everything? And the piles of trash everywhere that scares you of what you'll find? With Brush Creek Property Pros, there is no fear. Let us handle the horrors. Call us today for all of your property cleanup needs. That number is 937-671-6843. Or visit our website at brushcreekpropertypros.com.
For hot days and cold nights, stay comfortable with Schaefer Heating and Cooling, a family-owned full-service HVAC company serving the Hillsborough area for over 37 years. Turn to us for a geothermal system, heating and cooling a home and environmentally friendly, an air purifier and cleaner, and more. Our team members are well equipped and required to complete over 200 hours minimum of training each year.
So contact Schaefer Heating and Cooling today.
With all the financial headlines, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor, Ron Lynch, can help. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, we can work together to help ensure you're prepared for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Stop by our office at 481 Tucker Drive in Maysville. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen, to Basketball 30 here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. If you happen to be listening to us on C103 or you're new to our broadcast, remember that you can go to Good Guys Radio TV. We make it available for free. It is no subscription fees, none of those streaming rights, none of that stuff. You just go to Facebook, our Facebook page, or you can go to our YouTube channel, or you can go to goodguysradiotv.com. And again, you can watch all of this broadcast as well as all of our other broadcasts. Again, if you're new to us, we're doing a lot of the area events, and of course we do a lot of sporting events, especially focusing on high school, basketball, football, baseball, you name it, we're doing it. So you might check it out. The other really cool thing about this broadcast and all the others we're doing, when we're done here today, you can also go back and watch it later. You can watch it any place, anytime on your smartphone, your smart TV, any way you want to watch it, check it out. You will like what we're doing. And so with us today, as I talked about, it's the leadership for some of the leaders from amateur basketball in Southern Ohio. With us is Mr. Tim Cook. Tim Cook is a board member for the Southwest District as well as athletic administrator, I guess is the proper term, at Western Brown High School. Michelle Gleam, who is the Southern Hills Athletic Conference Commissioner, and Southeast District board member, Mr. Tony Williams. And Tim, let's start things off. Let's talk about, I always hear people talk about athletic directors and this and that, and you're kind of the invisible part behind what goes on. Explain to people what is really involved with being an athletic director around the schools.
A lot. I don't just get on my gator and go to games and sit there and watch the ball games.
Well,
There's a
and
whole
if I may
lot that
interject,
goes
it's
on.
not just basketball. We're talking basketball here, right?
Right. It's all kinds of things. So, with ADs, the one things you better do every day is confirm officials for your events and confirm buses if you're going away to events and confirm with the opponents that you're playing, because you don't want a situation where you've got a stadium full of people or a gym full of people and no officials. So those are some of the main things that ADs better be doing every day to make sure that everything runs smoothly with that. So I could go on forever with everything that we do, but that's some of the main things that you want to stay on top of every day.
Okay, well, this is going to be just a touch. We're going to start and give you an idea of where we're going with this. But before we do that, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we're going to delve not just into this. This is just the surface. Mostly what we're going to talk about is basketball and how it's administered, some of the new rules, some of the changes in the state, and some of the challenges that they face in the state of Ohio. But first this, here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103.
More than a century of service. Let that sink in for a moment. For more than 100 years, since 1908 and through 4 generations of family-owned business, Georgetown Marble and Granite has stood firm in our community. They've helped thousands of families pay their respects and have memorialized so many lives gone, but not forgotten. When that difficult time comes, Georgetown Marble and Granite will be there to assist you too. Visit their location on East North Street in Georgetown or call 937-378-6314.
Bertram Pharmacies, serving you at 3 locations, including Donahue Pharmacy in Georgetown, Bristow Pharmacy in Ripley, and Sardinia Pharmacy. Bertram Pharmacies are dedicated to providing you and your family with the care and individual attention that you deserve. Find your local Bertram Pharmacy online or get acquainted with one of their friendly staff members behind the counter. Give your business back to a hometown pharmacy that's invested in your local community. Bertram Pharmacies, better treatment, better care.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could go to college and get my degree.
What if I went to Southern State? What if I'm able to go and become that nurse or that lawyer or that teacher? Southern State Community College allows students to rise above the circumstances that they're surrounded by and become something more than they ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Basketball 30 here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. As I said, we have 3 representatives of the leadership and the people that make it happen when you go to these sporting events, especially at high school and junior high and beyond. With us today, Michelle Gleam. Michelle is the Southern Hills Athletic Conference Commissioner. You were a former AD, former educator. What, when we talk about this, we had Tim, the general duties of athletic director. What about the challenges? It's changed so much. You were an athletic director, 14 years?
14 years, yes.
And the job just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't it?
It gets bigger and bigger all the time. It's just like education. They add things and never take anything away. Putting all of your games and officials all have to be done online anymore. In the olden days, I mailed postcards to officials every week to remind them to show up. So now it's all online. There's more sports. The league has added bowling. Both boys and girls. So there's more things to do there. It's a huge job, and that's why I have an assistant, Mr. Tony Williams, to help me to get everything taken care of.
Tony, I know you're an assigner for other conferences. I know you're an educator as well. You were an athletic director. When we talk about at any given time, how many events is an athletic director, a high school athletic director, how many events is he dealing with at one time?
One time especially, everybody, we were talking about, going into the basketball season, but this time of the year during the fall, you've got cross country, you've got soccer, you've got volleyball, golf, and a lot of these are the smaller sports where it's a little bit more difficult, especially to even getting transportation. You're dealing with issues of getting there on time, especially in the fall with daylight and different things like that, and you're trying to juggle that. You're working with your transportation. Busing shortages with bus drivers is humongous in our area right now, always constantly having to adjust times and different things. We're working with officials and just trying to coordinate everything. You're kind of, juggling 3 balls at a time with the 2 hands, and it becomes really a difficult situation, especially when, if like you're in a classroom a lot with our ADs, especially in the Southeast District and things, it's a small part of their full day. They're educators that's their number one priority, but then they're trying to deal with this on the other hand, and it's a time crunch. So,
Tim, we get in, you've mentioned it briefly, each of us have talked about it. Facility management becomes an unbelievable challenge, doesn't it? And when I talk about facilities, as you and I know, we're talking a football field, we're talking outdoor facilities, indoor facilities, right?
There's a lot that goes on. Tony mentioned, he named off some of the sports that they have at the smaller schools. We also have football, tennis, some of those things that, in addition, football Fridays is huge. You're dealing with big crowds and all the things that go along with that. Scheduling facilities. Our coaches at our place are great. They usually work together and manage the practice times and work it out amongst themselves. I very seldom have to even get involved because our coaches are great. But sometimes that's not always the case.
Well, and Michelle, again, back to the facility thing. I think sometimes people forget the baseball field doesn't automatically get lined. And I know the coaches help out. There's a lot of people help with that, but when it finally comes down to it, as an athletic director, that's their ultimate responsibility. Make sure that gym floor got swept, to make sure the baskets are down and the like, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been many a day I've went out on the gator and drug a softball field, or you're painting fields. You're dealing with facilities that aren't yours. When you're playing golf matches, you're dealing with a course that doesn't belong to you, and you're kind of at their mercy, with what they've got set up for you. So there's a lot of things to it. It's like you said, you're sweeping the floors, you're getting tables set up, you're cleaning the bleachers. It's all those things.
Well, and Tony, Michelle mentioned there facilities that aren't even yours. When we're talking about bowling, I mean, schools don't have bowling alleys. So you're dealing with a bowling company, a private business, to provide the bowling facilities for that. Same things, it comes in with the golf course. Again, most schools I know of don't have golf courses, and that creates specific challenges in and of itself, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. My time on the Southeast District Board, that's one of our biggest things. You hear a lot of times people say, why do we got to drive all the way to this place or go to this, got to go all the way to this facility or that facility for a tournament game? You don't know what it's like to host a tournament event until you have to do it, especially at the district level, district finals, district semis, of all the media, making sure that they have proper facilities, making sure your officials have proper facilities, you have enough locker rooms to host everybody, parking, little things, just all the little things, egress into, switching out between games, all of that. But then you get into the golf and stuff. Again, there's only so many golf courses in the area that we can host that can host, having 40 or 50 golfers on the course at a time, with having parents wanting to be able to be there to watch and be able to rent a cart, things like that. It really gets into that whole part of there's got to be a checklist that we can go through. Oh, we just can't say that we can go to X, Y, or Z and it's no problem. There's a long checklist that people don't realize about, and like, well, we just decide the last minute to schedule something. No, there's a lot of prep work that we spend 6-7 weeks getting prepared for those events.
Okay, on that note, let's take another quick break. We'll be right back. We'll, again, delve more into some of the things that go on in amateur athletics specific to high school. But first this, here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103.
Do you have a property that is more trick than treats? That old spooky building that needs to come down? The mysterious water leak that destroys everything? And the piles of trash everywhere that scares you of what you'll find? With Brush Creek Property Pros, there is no fear. Let us handle the horrors. Call us today for all of your property cleanup needs. That number is 937-671-6843, or visit our website at brushcreekpropertypros.com.
For hot days and cold nights, stay comfortable with Schaefer Heating and Cooling, a family-owned full-service HVAC company serving the Hillsborough area for over 37 years. Turn to us for a geothermal system, heating and cooling a home and environmentally friendly, an air purifier and cleaner, and more. Our team members are well-equipped and required to complete over 200 hours minimum of training each year.
So contact Schaefer Heating and Cooling today.
With all the financial headlines, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor, Ron Lynch, can help. If you have more questions and answers about what's next, we can work together to help ensure you're prepared for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Stop by our office at 481 Tucker Drive in Maysville. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Basketball 30, the leadership side of things here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. And Tim, when we talked about facilities, we talked about some of the challenges we have as far as exactly putting together a match or competition or whatever. The thing that and we're going to probably talk about it throughout our episode today. I hear from all the athletic directors, I hear from the coaches, and I hear from fans in a different manner. The problem's officials.
That's a big concern.
Not enough, right?
Not enough. It depends on the sport too. But we've had to kind of try to do some things to spread them out. You can't just schedule every boys soccer game and every girls soccer game as a district board member on the same nights, because you'll never have enough officials. And sometimes we have to start out with 2 officials instead of 3 in the early rounds, because there's a lot more games in the early rounds. Football seems to be hanging in there, but I did see, I believe in the Southeast District, there was a game canceled last week or so because they didn't have officials. I couldn't believe that, but
we've had actually a couple weeks.
Okay. So it is happening at that level too in that sport of football, even though they're pushing to go to 6 officials on a Friday night instead of 5. So there must be some
Well,
more
and that's
officials out there than we thought.
easy if you're a Moeller or a Lakota, the game of the state, the game of the week, yeah, you're going to get 6 officials. But I know in my experience as a broadcaster, I'm even seeing volleyball matches now with 1 official at times. And it's, again, and then even so, although their intentions are perfect, we also have to address the quality of officials. There's a lot of older officials that would probably, not that they're not doing a good job, but they'd just as soon cut back, and they really can't right now, can they?
Right. Well, we have excellent assigners in our league and throughout the Southwest District, and we've never had any issues really. This year's been great. Last year we had some issues with soccer. Matter of fact, there were some games canceled in our league because we didn't have officials, but we got a new assigner this year, and things have been really good this year. So we haven't had any issues with having to cancel a game because of lack of officials.
Michelle, you mentioned soccer. That's been a hot button in the shack, hasn't it?
Yeah. We finally are up to 9 boys teams in soccer and 7 girls teams. And like you said, our standard soccer is 2 officials. Some leagues are trying to do 3. 3 is always better, but you can't find them. I'm working on officials for 2025, and I've already had 1 that moved out of the area, and I've got 2 that have changed jobs and can't get here in time to do a soccer game through the week.
Well, I have to assume, Michelle, it's also exacerbated with even with Western Brown, even though you're closer to the city, it's still a drive, especially in the Southeast District. Some of your officials are really driving a bunch of miles just to show up to do a game, right?
Yeah, they are, because the bulk of our officials that I use in the shack are more. They actually do live out this way. We're pulling some from over around Portsmouth, the Portsmouth area. Some of them do live here in the area, but it is a challenge to get them. And like you said, you're trying to get the best quality officials that you can. And we just don't have a lot of new officials that are taking the classes and coming into the fold of officiating. And they've done everything I think they can at this point, trying to get people to make it as easy as possible. All the coursework is online. So you get on the computer, you do all your coursework, you take a test, and pay your officials fee, and you don't have to even show up in person to do anything.
Well, and speak to that, because specifically, I want to be a soccer official. What do I have to do?
Go to ohsaa.org, and there's an officiating tab there. And all the information that you would need is there under that officiating tab to get started to become an official. And that's in any sport. We would be glad to have anybody that's interested, that would like to be involved with kids.
And all they have to do is be an adult, pass a background check, a state background check, and that's pretty much it, and pass the test you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, how good are these tests? I mean, the books on some of the sports are an inch and a half thick, especially football. I don't know how in the world you could learn to officiate football. I mean, it's challenging.
There's a lot of stuff to it. Absolutely.
Yes. They learn as they go.
Tony, Southeast District, the officials, how much, and I'm not in any way denigrating fans, but the fans are making a difference, at least from what we can observe. The fans are making additions as to how many people want to come out and officiate. How can the fans make it a better environment? How can the schools make it a better environment for the officials?
Well, I mean, I think some of the biggest things are truly listen to what's being said. We do a lot of the public service announcements. I know you guys present them on your broadcast. They're presented before games. The whole slogan that OHSA has of respecting the game. Kids are going to react to how their parents react. And if their parents are a positive influence in the stands, that's going to bleed out into the court, and it's going to help, or the field or whatever, and help resolve a lot of our issues. Not everybody's going to agree with every call that's made. Not everybody's going to like every call. It's not always going to go in everybody's way. But I can truly tell you, nobody is out there to say, I'm going to go out there to get this team. I'm going to go out there to get that team. They are doing the best they can. We're not all perfect. We see it in the college. I mean, they have replay for a reason in college. They have a replay booth in the NFL. We can't have that in high school. I mean, we're fortunate enough during basketball at the state tournament. That's the only time of the year we get to use it. And we have that they can check for the end of the game, and that's it. But we don't have the technology everywhere to be consistent enough to be able to do something like that. We got to trust these people that they're on the floor doing the best they can. They're going to make mistakes, but we all make mistakes in our whole life, and we don't have somebody standing around yelling at us for anything that we make mistakes for or anything else. It's not fair to them, especially for the little bit of money that they do make, especially by the time they're away from their families and driving that you talked about and everything else. They're out there because of the love of the game, and they want to be out there to support.
Well, Tim, you and I have both been around sports a long time. And Tony and I have talked about it, and I think I've talked to Michelle about it, and maybe you and I as well. I always find this, and I've had children that played. I think it goes back to best intentions. I've never met, and I think I told Tony, I've done like 3,000 games, over 3,000 sporting events. I can maybe name one time, two times maybe, where an official intentionally did something. I don't know, because a kid said something, because a coach said something. Their intentions are so honorable. I mean, to think in the stands that somebody is calling a foul on my child because they mean to, it's really incorrect, isn't it?
Yeah, over the 28 years I've been athletic director, very seldom do we have any major issues. Occasionally, especially at the lower levels, JV, freshman, middle school, there are guys who are just now starting out. They're still learning the game, how to officiate, and you got to know how to handle things, and don't get in arguments with the coaches on the sideline. That just, make your call, sell it, and go on.
And send somebody over to talk to them and you go
Yes, yes, because that's when I see things go crazy, is when official wants to, or there'll be a dead ball and they want to go over and try to explain to the coach why they made that call. Don't do that. Just go make the call, sell it, and go on, whether you were right or wrong. Because half the people in that gym disagree with the call every time you make a call. That's just the way it is.
Well, and I find it interesting, and I'll ask you to speak to this as well, Tim. And again, everybody thinks out here. We talk about out here. When we're talking to officials, I hear people talk out here from Cincinnati. I hear also people coming up from Athens. We have officials come over from Athens and down from Columbus. I think people would be really surprised how often I have officials say to me they come out here on purpose because the crowds comparatively are very well mannered. The kids are very polite, and I think we're very, very, very blessed to be in the position we are. Because let's face it, you're a Southwest District board member, some of the bigger cities. it's challenging even more so to be an official, isn't it?
Oh, agreed. And you're on display every night as an official, and sometimes you got to make a call at the end of the game that decides a game, maybe for a league championship or something, and that's tough. But they're always out there to make the best decisions, the best calls. We have some excellent officials in our area, and you're right. We have officials, especially in football and boys basketball, will come from Columbus, come from the Athens area, Dayton area. Since Dave Campbell took over last year as the basketball and football signer, we have seen so many new officials, new guys that are great officials. So that's been a good thing too. And so yeah, it's just they're so important. If we don't have officials, we don't have games.
Well, and Michelle, we even have, people will be surprised, we have some officials that, they're real officials. They officiate college sports. These are guys that are qualified to do even all the way up to the SEC and the Big Ten that are coming out and doing high school games. And that is so good for the sport, but it's also good for the kids, isn't it?
It is, because, those officials are obviously higher level. They've done it longer. They've had more experience. They generally know how to handle a crowd. If they make a call and the crowd is going nuts or whatever, those officials know how to handle that. Like you said, they're not going to go over and talk to the people in the stands. They're going to call it. They're going to go to the table, do what they need to do, and move on. And like I always said, usually if you've got a good official, both sides of the gym or the field or whatever are equally mad, because you've called the game the way you should have. So both sides are not happy.
Sure. All right. On that note, we hope you're happy watching Good Guys Radio TV and C103. It's Basketball 30. We hope you're enjoying it here. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. There's some really big issues affecting basketball specific this coming year in the entire state of Ohio. We're going to talk about that. There's been a change in the division level and the way the teams are split up, especially when it comes to tournament, and some more things. But first this, here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103.
More than a century of service. Let that sink in for a moment. For more than 100 years, since 1908, and through 4 generations of family-owned business, Georgetown Marble and Granite has stood firm in our community. They've helped thousands of families pay their respects and have memorialized so many lives gone, but not forgotten. When that difficult time comes, Georgetown Marble and Granite will be there to assist you too. Visit their location on East North Street in Georgetown or call 937-378-6314.
Bertram Pharmacies, serving you at 3 locations, including Donahue Pharmacy in Georgetown, Bristow Pharmacy in Ripley, and Sardinia Pharmacy. Bertram Pharmacies are dedicated to providing you and your family with the care and individual attention that you deserve. Find your local Bertram Pharmacy online or get acquainted with one of their friendly staff members behind the counter. Give your business back to a hometown pharmacy that's invested in your local community. Bertram Pharmacies, better treatment, better care.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could go to college and get my degree.
What if I went to Southern State? What if I'm able to go and become that nurse or that lawyer or that teacher? Southern State Community College allows students to rise above the circumstances that they're surrounded by and become something more than they ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Basketball 30 here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. I'm Don Bowles, and once again, we certainly appreciate you joining us. We hope you like this new series here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. Our area is very blessed with some great young athletes and, of course, a great sports culture. We're lucky to have venues where we can watch professional sports, we can watch good college sports, and of course we have some of the best amateur athletes in the United States. If you ever watch NFL, for example, or the NBA, where are those players from? Without fail, when they show the teams on the screen, some of them are alumni from Ohio colleges. Some of them have come from Ohio towns. Why is that? Because of the culture, because of the quality of the players and the athletes we have in the state of Ohio. We're blessed with that. Now, how does that start with? Of course, it starts with Pee Wee programs. It starts with junior high programs, elementary programs, all the way up to high school. And high school is specific to what we're talking about here today. The Ohio High School Athletic Association, they are the, so to speak, governing body for amateur athletics within public or member schools. And Tim Cook is with us. Tim is the former vice president of the Ohio High School Athletics Association Board of Directors. Tim, something people don't catch, every team or every school in the state of Ohio doesn't belong to the OHSA, do they?
There's some that don't. There's a handful in the Southwest District, but pretty much all, most schools are. There's over 800 schools that are members of the OHSAA, and it's a lot for that office to deal with. I'd probably send them an email about once a week just asking a question, because there's the way transfers are today and everything, and there's always some unique situation that comes up. I'm just making sure I'll email them. So I'm thinking, okay, that's just me. There's 800 schools. The emails they get weekly, probably unbelievable that they have to answer to and deal with. So, the OHSA serves a great purpose. Doug Youth, the commissioner, is executive director now, is just a great guy who's doing an awesome job of promoting and sportsmanship and all that stuff on top of everything else. So, it's an important governing body.
Well, and they deal with schools that, the best way I can tell them, is graduating class, I guess. Graduating class of 25 or even 30s, tall, tiny schools, all the way up to big schools that graduate a couple thousand. So we're talking about huge diversity among the type of schools, and then the number of sports, right?
Well, as everybody knows, we went to 7 divisions this year in volleyball and soccer and basketball and baseball and softball. We've been one of those schools in Ohio that the last 15 years have been just barely over in Division I, and that is not good if you're one of those schools, because it's very difficult to ever make a run in the tournament. And just this year, first year, our girls soccer got beat last night 1-0 to CHCA in the district semifinals. Volleyball plays tonight at 7 at Loveland in the district semifinals. We haven't had either one of those programs that far forever, maybe. So it's working, and it needed to happen. I've been banging the drum since I got on the district board 14 years ago that the disparity in Division I is a problem. And the people that are in that office now, starting with Doug Ute, the board of directors now, those people really understand it, and they have a lot to do with helping us get to where we're at today with the new 7 divisions.
And you're speaking to part of that. I personally have experienced where I broadcast Western Brown basketball. You've had really nice teams. I don't know, 20-2 and 19-3, really good records. We go down to Lakota West or wherever, and we do a basketball game, and you'd go on the floor with a molar, or you go on the floor, and that's not the way the system was originally designed.
Correct.
The system now, going back, folks, yes, I know some of the folks out there watching, you go back where it was one division. I mean, back it was A and double A, and then there was 3, and then more recently it was 4. Which one of you wants to tackle how they decided what 7 divisions? It's my understanding the top 2 divisions have X number, and then it splits it 4 ways. Which one of you wants to address that so we can explain that to the fans? What happened?
So basically, like Tim said, and I'll kind of piggyback on him, is the way the biggest disparity was. And Tim, I've been involved in those meetings, and we have, during a couple times a year, all of the district boards from all 6 districts get together to have meetings. And Tim was the biggest advocate, and we're there pushing him, because with us in the Southeast, we're a little bit different, that we only had a couple schools in that. And so we couldn't, all of our schools were getting sent out in those bigger divisions. They're getting sent out to the Southwest, to the Central. They're sending out to other districts, and they don't have any, and they're swallowed up. So what they looked at is they looked at the top 6, kind of took the football mentality that they did a few years ago when they went to 7 divisions in football, and they cut it off with the top 64 teams and made a Division I. And when they were first doing this, they looked to see, should they go 6, 7, how many should it be? And they really realized, and Tim will agree, I would think, on this, is that when they did just that first 64, there was still that disparity. So you needed to go, so they did another 64 for Division II. Then after that, so then they made the cutoffs based upon each division, each sport, using our competitive balance and everything else that deals with like the transfers and different stuff like that. They allowed teams that you've got some schools, especially maybe like in volleyball, Mount Notre Dame in the Southwest, they've always been a perennial power. they were going to be dropping to Division II. They were allowed the opportunity to stay Division I if they wanted to stay Division I, because this is where they've always been. And so they were given that opportunity and allowed it to keep it evened out to where we would have at least 64 teams in that Division II. And then they took the rest of the schools after those first 128 and divide them up evenly like we used to in the past to make up the other 5 divisions. And it's made a big difference, us in the Southeast, like tonight, Michelle and I were just talking with the Southern Hills Conference. There is an entire district bracket in girls soccer in Division 5, because girls soccer, there's only 5, and both girls and boys soccer, there's only 5 divisions just because of the number of teams. There is one entire district bracket, 4 teams in a district that are all Southern Hills Athletic Conference teams. Fairfield's playing Peebles, North Adams and Lynchburg are playing each other. Then those 2 will go and play. We have 7 girls soccer teams. 4 of our 7 teams are guaranteed to be in the district finals for girls soccer from the Shack, because Fayetteville's already made it to the district finals. Eastern Brown won last night over Zane Trace. So we're seeing, and we've been successful in the past, but we're seeing even more success this year, just all the way through.
Michelle, to that point, we were talking about the Shack and back to the 7 divisions, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I know it's going to be volleyball, it's going to be basketball, baseball, and softball. I think are the ones that are affected specifically. The others, and to that fact, folks, the reason soccer, as Tony said, the reason soccer has less divisions, and even down to golf and track, there's less teams that actually participate. So it's all based on that. But I'll call them the mainline sports or whatever. The mainline sports are pretty much all going to be in 7 divisions now, where in the past, Tim, as you alluded to, football was that way. And Western Brown had pretty good degree of success in football because of it, right?
D3.
Yes, because you were D3 at that point.
Yep, we got beat in the regional finals by Granville 3 years ago. And right there, just couldn't outscore them.
Sure.
And then the year after that, we were regional semifinalists, which was the farthest we've ever been in football. Of course, Drew Novak was leading that bunch then. And but now, yeah, it's like Tony said. Well, I know Doug, my stepson Doug Williams, is coach at Western Latham, and they're D7 this year. And some of the schools in D4 prior to this year are not in his division anymore. They're either Berlin Highland, I think, is D6. Some of those schools that, he got beat in the regional finals a couple of years ago by Berlin Highland. So he thinks he's got a great chance to make a long run in there. So, it didn't just make a difference for schools like us that were in D1. It's making a difference all the way down for different schools. So it's exciting. The kids got more opportunities. The community's got more opportunities. It's a good thing.
And to that point, Michelle, specific to the Shack, 10 teams in the Shack, we're going to have 3, I think it is, in Division 4. I'm going to get 2 in Division 7, and what's that make? 5 more in Division 5, Division 6. So you have 5 in Division 6, 2 in 7, and 3 in 5. Are the coaches talking about they like it, don't like it? What are you hearing?
The fall coaches, the volleyball coaches seemed okay with it. I think the bigger tell is probably going to be basketball. How this is all going to play out. Going to 7 divisions, it involves more teams, more kids, getting to play in those tournament games and getting to, the district level or the regional levels or whatever. So I think they're going to be in favor of what's going on because it benefits kids in the long run. It benefits them. And I think some of your other coaches, I know your cross-country coaches, some of your track coaches, they're really kind of pushing. They want OHSAA to extend their divisions as well, to kind of separate. You've got, a team like White Oak who, grades 9 through 11, boys and girls, has 170 kids. And in those sports, they're against schools that have more than twice that many kids.
Right.
So
that's funny that track and cross country. Now we've got the other sports done, and that's going to happen. And I feel real confident it's going to happen. Like track, the Division I cutoff just keeps dropping. It's like 268 and up.
Right.
So they're in their division. They're talking about maybe 170 more kids than at one school than what they've got. we're talking about like 1,200 when we go to the districts at Mason and run against Mason and Lakota West. And there's
when
just
we
no
talk
way.
about Moeller and some of these, I mean, what is it, Fairfield at one time, or Mason, the biggest school in the state,
Yes.
they easily graduate 2,000, 2,500 students.
They'll have 120 kids come to the track meet, and we bring our 35 or whatever, and there's no way you can compete with them.
Yeah.
So that's a big issue that the OHSA is looking into right now and discussing, and hopefully that happens pretty soon.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll talk more about basketball and everything else, athletics in the Ohio High School Athletic Association and beyond, as we return here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103.
Do you have a property that is more trick than treats? That old spooky building that needs to come down? The mysterious water leak that destroys everything? And the piles of trash everywhere that scares you of what you'll find? With Brush Creek Property Pros, there is no fear. Let us handle the horrors. Call us today for all of your property cleanup needs. That number is 937-671-6843. Or visit our website at brushcreekpropertypros.com.
For hot days and cold nights, stay comfortable with Schaefer Heating and Cooling, a family-owned full-service HVAC company serving the Hillsborough area for over 37 years. Turn to us for a geothermal system, heating and cooling a home and environmentally friendly, an air purifier and cleaner, and more. Our team members are well equipped and required to complete over 200 hours minimum of training each year.
So contact Schaefer Heating and Cooling today.
With all the financial headlines, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor, Ron Lynch, can help. If you have more questions and answers about what's next, we can work together to help ensure you're prepared for your journey. After all, retirement isn't the end of the trek, it's a new beginning. Stop by our office at 481 Tucker Drive in Maysville. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Basketball 30, folks. Once again, I'm Don Bowles, and don't forget, if you're listening to this on C103, you can go to Good Guys Radio TV, our Facebook, our YouTube channel, or goodguysradiotv.com and watch this. And not only can you watch it live if you happen to be about and want to go to a TV or your phone or whatever, but you can also watch it in this archive section. So make sure, and not only that, do us a favor, share it with your neighbors, share it with your friends, because I think we're talking about some things that not only will affect your students and fans of your school, but some of the schools that you like to follow as fans as well. So make sure you check it out if you would, please. And of course, don't forget, this 2-week period, we're featuring all the teams in the area. We're featuring the Shack plus Western Brown and all their basketball teams. So make sure you tune in and check that out as well. We talked about the 7 different divisions. Mechanics, Tony, the mechanics on how is the tournament, because it's going to change pretty dramatically, because we've talked for years. We've talked sectional, we've talked district, we've talked region, we've talked state. Explain to everybody, if you can, a thumbnail. How's it going to adjust?
So basically what ends up happening with us, and we've set with our meetings, we basically had a full day work session in July once everything pretty much got set for the fall and the winter. Spring still getting decided. That'll get decided this week more with the board meeting and stuff with it. Is now that we know how many representations that the state gives us for the regional level, that's what you'll hear when we decide how many district champions we get. It's determined by how many regional representations that we get, and that's how you get your district champions. So basically what it is it's created where a situation where we're getting rid of those early games, because you think about it, you still got the same amount of teams playing, they're just playing in more divisions, so you get more district champions. So in the end, you have less teams getting out early from our districts. So when we looked at it, you got several of our brackets. If we would have kept the traditional format of the sectional, semi-sectional, final, and all that, we would have had teams automatically being handed a sectional championship, because with the number of teams in the district representation, they automatically are sliding into a district semifinal. So we do not have the term sectional for our 7 or 5 division sports anymore in the Southeast District. It's just district first round, district quarterfinals, then district semis and finals. One of the big things that I know a lot of people are going to ask about it is, what about the convo? Boys basketball, we're going to get to use the convo still. It will be for the district finals. Not going to be able to do the district semis like sometimes we've done in the past, because we're getting 9 district champions in boys basketball. That's an increase of 3. We would then have 27 games total at the Convo if we tried to play the semis and the finals. And it's just not advantageous with the schedule they have there. So we're going to have the district finals there. And then if the other things that maybe people haven't seen is the state semifinals for basketball are not going to be at Dayton. Those are a separate weekend. So the traditional Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that we've had in the past few years, that's kind of went away. That last weekend for each girls and boys will be a championship weekend. It'll just be Friday and Saturday, 3 championship games on Friday, 4 championship games on Saturday.
Combined girls and boys?
No. There'll be 1 week. The last weekend, the 21st and 22nd of March, will be for the boys. The weekend go you back before, that will be the girls' state championship weekend. But at that same time, using Thursday through Sunday, will be the boys' state semifinals. And those are going to be at the various facilities all across the state. We could be using places like the Convo again for a boys' district or boys' state semifinal. UC, Xavier, Kent State, all those places all around. Nice college facilities will be used for those state semifinal sites. Go back the previous weekend when that will be boys regional, the girls state semifinals will be going on at quality facilities and so on for that. So by doing that, it's just kind of shortened up the tournament, but what's going to end up happening is you're going to have more teams participating in like what we would call the district tournament of district semis and finals.
So bottom line, state championships, the tournament will be spread out over 2 weekends, both girls and boys, and still staggered the way we have in the past. Tim, we talked about Southeast District. Let's talk about Southwest. A different animal. You've got a lot less small schools, got a lot more big schools because, as Tony said, Southeast. I don't think we're even going to have a D1 school, are we?
No, we only have one D2 school, and that's Logan.
Yeah. Okay. Whereas on the other hand, Southwest District's loaded with D1 schools. Not very many what used to be D4 schools, which would be 6s and 7s, 5, 6s and 7s. So it's a very different animal, isn't it?
Yeah, and we still do neutral sites in basketball.
Right.
You guys are at higher seeds right off the bat, right?
Just for the first round. The rest of them will then be at.
Okay, so you've changed that a little bit. Yeah,
and let's explain that because what we're talking about here is no tournament games are played at a home site, so to speak, right?
Not in our district.
That's what I meant in the Southwest District.
And we've got six districts in the state, and everybody has their own kind of format that they use. And at one time, we were trying to get everybody to go to the same format, and that just didn't go very well because everybody likes the way they do things. So we still like neutral sites in the Southwest. And, yeah, we have 7 divisions. There's still a lot of big schools, bigger schools in our district. But in the end, what's going to happen is, like, we've hosted Division III for years at Western Brown. So we'll probably get maybe multiple divisions, maybe like 3, 4, and 5 games, smaller pods of games, still about the same number of games we'll host, which is around 10 to 12 during that stretch. But it won't be all just one division. It'll be multiple divisions probably this year. We haven't got them. Scott Kaufman, who's on the basketball committee for the state, and then Phil Poggi, our secretary, has been working on that, and they should have that finalized in the next week or so we can get that out there.
And no sectionals, or there will be no sectional to Southwest either, correct?
It's a lot like the football format. You start at the state finals and work your way backwards.
Right.
And so that, like Tony said, there's less sectional games now. You're kind of starting at the district semis for the most part, and then moving on. Actually, I believe in Division II, you can actually, if you get the right draw, you can play right into a district championship game right off the bat. So because there's just so many less games in Division I and II with only 64 schools.
Yeah.
So it's different, but it's exciting too at the same time.
Well, and again, kind of summarize, if folks make sure you hear what's being said here, is the bottom line, round numbers. There used to be about 200 schools in each division. Now, on the bottom end, there's someplace, 130, 140?
It's about 124.
124. Okay, so you're talking about your student, your son, your daughter, or your neighbor, or whoever, the team you root for is going to now be competing against 123 schools versus 199 schools. And that, Michelle, that's going to make a dramatic difference in the success of this, correct?
Yeah, I think it will. And like I said, you're going to get more teams and more kids involved going through all of these games. And like you said, the competition should be, honestly, I think it's going to be better because they're going to be more like each other rather than, like you said, the school with 170 be playing against somebody that has 350. You're going to be playing with schools that are a lot more similar to you.
Right. Well, and again, we always talk about, teaching success. And I'm sure you folks all agree with me. The more success we can have and the more winners we can have, the more successful and the better students will educate, which is basically what it's about, right?
Well, you mentioned, in the old days of four divisions, there was around 200 schools in each division. One of the things we were hearing as we were talking about going to 7 divisions, well, there's only 64 schools in Division 1 and 2. That to win a state championship with only 64 schools. Well, the NCAA has 64 teams in their NCAA tournament. Is that not a big deal when they win that?
Pretty good tournament,
absolutely.
I think.
Yes. So when a Division
how many actual colleges are in Division 1?
Exactly.
Yeah, about 65.
Exactly.
right.
Right. So it's when you win a state title, whether it's 64 or 200, it's still a big deal.
Yeah. All right.
And just kind of add on to that just real quick is just add on to this of how did we get to that is they studied other states. And we're actually still one of the largest states when you go by schools per division. We're still at some of the largest of it because we're one of the largest associations in the entire country. And you go by that, really technically with the others, instead of having, only 7 divisions, if we followed other states' plans, we'd have 10 or 11 divisions.
Sure.
So it's still not as small as it could be, but I think we made a nice plan.
Yeah.
Boy, that'd be confusing.
Louisiana has 12 divisions, if I remember right.
Yes, you're
I don't
right.
want to Michelle, you want to think about that one?
No.
We'll take another break. We've got time for just one more small segment. We'll be back with that. Stay with us, folks, on Basketball 30 here on Good Guys Radio TV as well as C103.
More than a century of service. Let that sink in for a moment. For more than 100 years, since 1908, and through 4 generations of family-owned business, Georgetown Marble and Granite has stood firm in our community. They've helped thousands of families pay their respects and have memorialized so many lives gone, but not forgotten. When that difficult time comes, Georgetown Marble and Granite will be there to assist you too. Visit their location on East North Street in Georgetown or call 937-378-6314.
Bertram Pharmacies, serving you at 3 locations, including Donahue Pharmacy in Georgetown, Bristow Pharmacy in Ripley, and Sardinia Pharmacy. Bertram Pharmacies are dedicated to providing you and your family with the care and individual attention that you deserve. Find your local Bertram Pharmacy online or get acquainted with one of their friendly staff members behind the counter. Give your business back to a hometown pharmacy that's invested in your local community. Bertram Pharmacies, better treatment, better care.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could go to college and get my degree.
What if I went to Southern State? What if I'm able to go and become that nurse or that lawyer or that teacher? Southern State Community College allows students to rise above the circumstances that they're surrounded by and become something more than they ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's Basketball 30 here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103. Joining us today, Mr. Tim Cook, Michelle Gleam, and Tony Williams. Tim is a board member of the Southwest District Athletic Board as well as former vice president of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Michelle is the director of the commissioner, of the Southern Hills Athletic Conference. And, of course, Tony Williams is the assistant commissioner of the Southern Hills Athletic Conference, as well as a Southeast District board member. And we decided to let Tony come in and join us, even though he wasn't very popular anyway, right?
That's right.
Tony, do you have enough to do? Tell us about the schedule. What's coming up?
Besides, everybody right now, right in front of us, we've got fall district tournaments going on this week. So pretty much you can go to anywhere right around the Southeast right now and find a volleyball or soccer game to go to every night. But then looking up ahead the schedule, we've got November 15th, Friday night. Well, as far as basketball, that gets us really started with the girls basketball preview at Manchester. It will start at 5 o'clock. We'll have 5 games. Game times our games will be decided, as we've done the past few years, based upon the coaches poll. Whoever the coaches think will be the top team in the small school will play the top team that they figure in the big school, and we'll go backwards through that, playing that night. I know Don will be there with C103, and Good Guys Radio will be there all evening, but we'd like to have a big crowd at Manchester on the 15th. And the next Friday night on the 22nd, we'll be at Peebles for the boys preview.
Michelle, financially, the preview is pretty important for the Southern Hills Athletic Conference, aren't they?
Yes, they are. The money that the Shack gets from holding junior high tournaments and previews and all of those things, all that money goes back to the kids. It goes into buying awards. It goes into, our expenses as a league. We have a website, shackathletics.com. The money goes to help pay for that. We'd like to thank our sponsor, First State Bank, for helping support our website. Please go on the website. We have tons of statistics, records. You can see who's first place in basketball. They keep track of all their stats and everything. It's a great tool, so please, use that. And it's, those monies don't just lay around. They get returned to the kids and to the schools in various ways.
All right. Tim Cook, coming up, Western Brown, Southwest District. What do we got happening?
Well, we're winding down the fall sports season. This week's pretty much wrapping up the district tournaments in our district, and start looking at the regionals next week. As far as in our league, we have an excellent fall, winter, and spring SBC banquet that we have at Hamersville every year. Hamersville is the only place that can host. For the fall, we'll have over 700 people there for parents and first team players, and 32 Barbecue. I'll give them a shout out because they serve them, and they'll serve 700 people in about 35 minutes. It's just awesome what they do. And then within an hour and 15 minutes, we have the whole thing done. We have a great turnout every year for that banquet, and recognize those kids and coaches who have earned those honors. So that's coming up, and then we're getting ready for basketball, and there's really no downtime anymore. I mean, it's just, and this year we host the holiday tournament, which I hear it every year. We need to host it at Western Brown every year because we do have the biggest gym and all that. But so no, it can rotate because it's a lot of work when you're hosting it. Let me tell you.
Is it true you've attended 99.9% of all events that you were expected to be at?
I've never missed a football game in 28 years, home or away.
There's only 12 of those a year. I mean, geez.
Right. But I go to almost every basketball game, home and away. Not very many do I miss. And I think it's important that you're there. I mean,
another part that people miss with the athletic directors and what the requirements are, right?
Absolutely. You better have an understanding wife, which my wife Lily does. Understand, because she's from a big, her dad was Hecky Thompson, who the gym's named after Western Latham, and she grew up it's all about basketball. And we got 13 grandkids that a bunch of them are already in sports, and a lot of things going on with sports in our household.
Tim, thank you very much. Michelle, thank you. Glad having you. And thank you for everything all of you do. But thanks, Michelle, for being commissioner of the Shack. It's a little thankless at times, but pretty rewarding, isn't it?
It is. It's very rewarding. It's seeing the overall picture of what's happening. As an AD, you're focused on your particular school and your particular kids, and as the commissioner, you're looking at 10 different schools and all of those kids and coaches. So it kind of gives you a broader perspective of what's going on. And Don, we appreciate you having us here today to talk to your viewers and your listeners to get this information out to them.
And Tony, if you come back, we promise not to pick on you too much more.
No, that's not true. So that's okay. I'm used to it after about 15 years of being around you.
There you go. Once again, thank you very much, folks. We certainly appreciate it. Make sure you check out all of our broadcasts on our new series here, Basketball 30, on Good Guys Radio TV. We certainly appreciate all of you joining us. And again, we hope you enjoy what we do. Remember, it's not just basketball on here. Or, last year we do a lot of sports. We also do a lot of local events. We'll be doing Christmas and festivals. We do fairs and the like. Make sure you check out our website, goodguysradiotv.com. Once again, I'm Don Bowles, and thank you so much for joining us here on Good Guys Radio TV and C103.